Hey everybody, welcome back to Real Talk.
with real siblings. We were having a little chat off camera. It was funny. Anyway, I'm Moses.
I'm Joy, and we are here to talk about the latest episode of Sequester. This was such a fun episode. I'm just loving this show. Like I'm having so much fun with this new series.
But
I guess
real
new to
talk,
me, not really new to me.
Real talk.
Oh,
the realest talk.
What?
Marcelo got wrecked this week. What a not week for him. Whoo, you got wrecked. Damn, he got wrecked.
But first, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below. We've loved spending all this time with you, and we want to know that you support us. We want to know that you feeling what we're doing. You're receiving what we're given. We give, you receive. Let's get into it.
All right. So we're gonna start off first with obviously the recap of how last week ended. So we had Muna call Jacob into competition. Jacob was like, at, flipped it on her, put that thing down, flipped it and reversed it. Brendan got dragged into the competition. Muna whooped up on Brendan, and Muna came back into the house. And instead of coming back into the house and having everything be peaceful, which is what a boring show would do, Sequester was like, let's just have it all get hot and crazy immediately. Muna went off. Everyone went off. She went after Marcelo. Jacob was like, yeah, go ahead. Instigate. It was nuts. What did you think about that initial argument?
It was... the whole time I was just like, Marcelo, could you stop talking? Shut up, stop talking. Like, stop talking. Like, Muna comes back, she calls out like Marcelo and Jacob. Jacob just keeps it quiet because Jacob thinks before he speaks. And Jacob always has a plan. And he's not just gonna start mouthing off unless he is trying to, unless he has some sort of plan he's trying to accomplish. Marcelo just like, it wasn't my fault. It was just already starts. And you see Muna, look, when Muna is speaking, she's speaking. She doesn't want you interrupting her. So Muna was just like not at all giving any ground to him to let him speak. And he just kept going. And then, at some point you see Josh being like, or Jacob being like, yeah, speak your truth. I was like,
Talk your
shit. I love Jacob. That's exactly what he said. Yeah. Like, this is why I love Jacob. He's so funny.
Yeah.
It
was great. I mean, Billy, of course, got it. Billy was not going to just let Muna get dishonored like that and sit by the sidelines. Booney always stands up for a girl. I do think Muna's a little heavy-handed with the don't talk to me sometimes. She did it before with Jacob, the elimination. I'm like, look, sometimes you got to say your piece and let other people talk. She's just does not allow it, which I get, but Muna, you got to chill sometimes, I feel like.
I get it, because she's like, this is my time. I fought my way back. I get the opportunity to stand here and address y'all. So can you actually just listen for 2 seconds? I was the one that got blindsided. So like, let me speak. So I was feeling Mona at the moment. I was really annoyed with Jacob. I'm like, could you really just like stop talking?
Jacob, Marcelo.
And because Marcelo. I was getting annoyed with Marcelo. Yeah,
Marcelo is what I call bully bait. He's the kind of personality where like bullies see that. Not that anybody in the house is a bully. I'm not accusing that. Just that, like, it's so easy to bully him, and it's maybe even a little fun to bully him because everybody was dunking on him this episode. Literally, I think everybody got a dunk off. It was an all-star just contest. It was wild. Everybody got dunked. Everyone was dunking on him, and sometimes he didn't take it that well.
The other 2 people who you've called bully bait?
Who?
The 2 guys. Were they on the same season? I think they're actually on the same season of Big Brother. Josh Martinez, who won. And then the other guy who was like super muscular, like really muscular.
That guy.
And he was dating like Elena in the house or whatever. Yeah, that's I think that's the first time I heard you use that phrase. I don't remember his name either, but yeah, when he said bully bait, that's like exactly what I thought.
Ooh, because Josh is always crying.
Josh is always crying.
They always give the reaction a bully wants. They like anytime you confront them, they give you the sort of reaction that makes you want to just go in on them. And there's no resistance. Like they crumple immediately. It's rough. Yeah. It's a rough personality trait. Anyway.
And remind me about that, because we see that during the twist when Marcelo is talking to people, like we see
we
that
can get to the twist now. Go ahead.
Okay. So let's talk about the twist, right? So the main twist of this episode, it was essentially a jury plea. And I really love this twist. I mean, I think one of the cool things about this show is that the jury is really, they take a front seat. They get to see firsthand with their own eyes, kind of, what's going on in the house. And so this was like a direct opportunity for the contestants still playing the game to talk to the jury. So each person had 2 minutes to make a plea to the jury and pitch 2 people that they felt should be nominated, right? And at the end of after everybody gives their plea and their pitch, the jury, they get to pick one person whose plea they like the most. So they pick their favorite plea. That person is safe, and that person's nominations become the official nominations, right? So if they like, they like your plea, for example, you get safety, and the people you pitched get nominated.
I loved it.
I
thought it
liked
was
it
a
a
really
lot.
cool twist. Yeah, it was. These, Big Brother is almost notoriously bad at integrating the jury into really anything that matters other than the final vote. And I thought this was such a smart way to include them. It rewards, in a way, it kind of helps out the underdog, right? If you've been losing allies to the jury, this is your chance. But it also rewards the social connections you've made now. So it just rewards all the things you want in a successful game player of these sorts of games. And it was really good. And also just seeing the jury was nice. It's nice to see the jury. It's new faces in the house, new personalities, new reactions. I liked it.
Yeah, and also I think it helps to ensure kind of the integrity of the game, so that the winner at the end is someone who I feel like I don't know, and we don't know who wins, but I
Yeah.
feel like the winner is going to be somebody who played a game throughout. Because
Yeah.
I mean, here's the jury having the opportunity to see somebody's gameplay, have somebody pitch them and say, not only should these should be the people that we target and nominate, but here's why I'm playing a really good game. And we
Yeah.
see everybody take the opportunity to not just give their pitch, but also say, here's what I've been doing in the game so far. So
Yeah.
first up is Marcelo, and this guy, like, I don't know how you felt about his pitch. He pitches for Josh and Jacob, which was a little surprising, but I guess not so surprising given that he had just had that blow up, a bit with Jacob and Muna. But he pitches Josh and Jacob, and then he tries to make a case for his game. And I think it fell flat because I didn't even understand what he was saying. I
Yeah,
was like,
bro. I didn't watch
what are you
every
trying to
episode.
say?
It was, you know what it is? He gets
So confusing.
he's bad under pressure. You know what I mean? And like it's part of the reason he's so easy to bully, part of the reason people go at him so hard. He crumples immediately. And I think you could see how he was talking. He was so jittery and he was so scatterbrained. He was really struggling. When he was talking, I felt like they had 30 seconds to talk. I missed actually when they explained the game, I didn't hear how long they had. And when he was going, I was like, damn, they only got 30 seconds. They got like 15 seconds. This is crazy. And then everyone else went after him and they're like, hi, my name is Billy. I'm from New York. I would like to first begin. I was like, what? Why did these people have so much time? And I realized he was just frantic. And it really damaged both his message and how he conveyed his message. And he wasn't credible or convincing at all.
Yeah. He tried to say that he was there for social connections, and, so he's here to make social connections. And that's just the main important part of what he wants to do in this house, is make social connections. And that's going to help him win. Because that's literally all he said. All he did was repeat social connections over and over without giving any sort of examples. And I actually think it damaged him more than,
I think it did.
I was like, it would have been better if he just hadn't talked to the jury at all, because this was horrible. So after he goes, we see Muna, and Muna pitches for probably everyone, you could guess, and you get it right, Jacob and Marcelo.
Yeah.
And I thought her pitch was good, but also, she doesn't really have that much work to do. A lot of the people in the jury are her friends. She was in the jury before, so she actually got to, chat with them, and really kind of, talk to each other. And so she really just talked to them like, they were her friends, which is the case.
Yeah, it was very smooth. I mean, I don't know what to add to that. Muna is Muna. She's a good speaker. She's charismatic. She, has a lot of friends in social capital.
Yeah. Then we see your girl. We see Natalie. She gives her pitch.
I thought you were going to say Billy. You genuinely tricked me. I was like, oh, Billy's coming. Yeah, Natalie went.
I know, I saw you doing this. I was like, okay, you're really coming on the Natalie train, huh?
No,
not your girl Billy.
Little N. No, I'm kidding.
Natalie, she pitches Muna and Josh, which I guess that makes sense. I mean, she tried to get Muna out the last round. She was one of the votes for Muna. She feels good with, or is willing to work with, Jacob for a while, and Spencer. And so I guess that left like Marcelo and Josh.
Natalie plays this game as if every day, I guess every week, her memory gets wiped at the end. That's what it feels like. It's like she comes back in and she has to create this entirely new gameplay strategy to survive in the house. And I'm always like, did you think of that just now? Like, it's always so not out of nowhere, but like, it just seems so ineffective, right? It's like, why is this the plan right now. And it's almost always she has the singular plan that other people in the house aren't necessarily on board with. I mean, she did have the Muna push last week, but that was largely Jacob. But like, I don't know. And then
I
we'll,
know.
we'll get to it, and then it falls apart, and then she has to apologize like every week. That's what happens. She has this plan. She goes after the person she didn't really need to go after, and she's like, "Oh yeah, actually, I'm sorry. I have to be honest. I didn't mean to." I'm just like, why? Then just relax. What do you every
That's
week?
true.
I don't get it.
That's true. I'm sure next week we're going to see her apologizing to Josh for saying her name. But yeah, I thought that I was surprised that she said that. But I thought that her pitch to the jury resonated. I remember thinking, oh, she's doing a good job, like better than she tells the jury that she led the charge in getting Muna out. Like she led the
Yeah.
charge in pushing the Muna vote. And that wasn't completely the case.
No.
It was Jacob's plan. And she was certainly on board. And she was a good soldier. She stayed on board. But Jacob didn't tell, we see Jacob come later. He doesn't tell the jury that. And so Natalie takes all the credit in front of the jury. And I remember thinking, the thing is, in her head, she thinks she led the charge. So it's not like she did it as,
exactly.
as like a strategic gameplay.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was a great play because the jury ate it up. We see later Brent's like, yo, I was shocked. I was shocked that she's, leading this charge. So I remember in the moment thinking, oh, this is good for Natalie. She's going to raise her stock a little bit more with the jury.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have worked. If Jacob had said he did it, everyone would believe Jacob. That she would have been apologizing again next week for saying that she did.
Like, well, I mean, I was there in the room when Jacob was thinking about it. That's why I said
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she deserves more credit, but it ain't coming from me. So who's next?
All right. So next we see Billy. Your girl, my girl, Billy. Billy CEO. She pitches for Marcelo and Jacob to go up. And so, yeah, this is the second time we've seen Marcelo and Jacob. His Muna also pitch for them.
Yeah.
What did you think about her pitch?
I mean, she's just good. She's good at this game. I remember making a joke about her being a CEO at the beginning of the season and being like, what the hell? What the what? Egg on my face. This girl operates like a CEO. She's running the damn house. Yeah. She's running the show. Yeah. And she goes into these like their board meetings and she's like the keynote presenter every time. She's so confident. She's so effective in how she communicates. She's very logical, just like she's logical and yet also knows how to play people's emotions. She deliberately kind of gave a shout out to Brent, knowing it would affect him, like being she's just good, man. She's good.
She's good. And I think the reason, I mean, it's many reasons. I think she's just amazing, but I also think she's just a good person. Like she's really genuine. When she talks about loyalty, like she doesn't just talk it. Like she doesn't just speak about loyalty. Like she's a loyal person. Like when she explained, yo, like people say I'm throwing my votes, like if my allies are there, of course I'm not going to vote on my allies. I'm going to vote on somebody else. And the time I did have to vote on my ally, I spoke to I went to Marcelo and said, hey, I'm sorry I had to throw a vote on you. And it was so cool to kind of see, you see the flashbacks of like, yep, that's what she did. Yep, that's what she did. Yep, that's what she did. Yeah. And I mean, she's running it. She's running the house. She's running. I mean, we see someone later on be like, yeah, Billy's the most respected person in this house. Yeah. Like when she speaks, everyone listens. Everyone gives it credit. Like, I love Billy. She's amazing. Damn impressive. So Billy's pitch was perfect. And then we see Josh. When I saw Josh's picks, I thought of you. So I was like, oh, Mo's gonna be so disappointed. Because I was disappointed. I was so disappointed. Josh, why did you nominate Billy? Billy and Muna. That was his pitch.
I wasn't disappointed because I think there was an element of resignation in Josh this week. Wait, Josh, sorry. I was thinking Jacob. There's an element of resignation. Josh's pick, I wasn't. So he gave this whole he had this plan, right? And it was very elaborate. And I actually didn't take notes on it, so I don't remember exactly the details. But I remember he was thinking something like he needs to protect. I actually don't remember it all. But it wasn't necessarily him targeting Muna and Billy. It was something like he wanted them because he knew they'd pick Marcelo or something. It was very complex, and also to show that he's willing to cut the throats of people close to him. I don't remember all the details of the plan, but it wasn't as simple as like, I want Billy and Muna out. That would have been a lot more disappointing. You're right. There was a lot more thought that went into it. Yeah. Yeah,
you're right. He did say he pretty much sussed that Muna probably had some sort of advantage. Mm-hmm. And I think he was thinking that the votes would be on Billy and Muna. So in order to kind of like save them, if you vote them, then you give Muna the opportunity to use her thing, her safety. You know, give Billy the opportunity to draw in somebody like Marcelo, and you know, it looks like the whole house knows that Marcelo's not going to win the competition. So yeah, there was, you're right, there was certainly was some gameplay and strategy as to why he was picking her. But the thing with Josh is that Josh is amazing. Like, he's so fun to watch. I think he is thinking about this game 24/7. I love his strategy. But when I think about Josh as a player, I feel like if, for example, let's say you get into Big Brother, which Robin Cass, if you're watching, cast your boy. He's gonna go in and clean up the house, right? But if you go into the Big Brother house and if you see Josh, right, I feel like Josh doesn't trust anybody 100%. Josh is not 100% loyal to anybody, and you have to be loyal to one person. In any game.
The police.
In any game.
It's me against the wall. It's me against the world. Let's go. I love it. Because at the end of the day, you're loyal to the people you were with before you entered the house. That's the only people you owe your loyalty to. Anybody in the house, you only owe them the appearance of loyalty. And Josh is killing the game in that respect. Everybody thinks Josh is their number one, right? I mean, nobody's like, oh, Josh is snaky. Nobody's saying that about Josh. I mean, Marcelo's getting called snaky and all this up and right. Even Jacob's getting accused of things. Nobody's accusing Josh. The appearance of loyalty is all that matters. I'm Team Josh, Team Billy Joe. Let's go. They're the only people that matter. Billy is actually loyal. Josh is not at all loyal. And I love the way they're both playing.
Josh is like, I don't know if he's like chaotic good or chaotic neutral, but I feel like you have to have one person that you're loyal to, have one person that you tell the truth to, have one person. Like, I want to see that in a show. And I love Josh in this show. I love him. But when I think of Josh, like, if I were to ever play a mini with him or Sequester with him or Big Brother with him, like, I feel like I was 100% want to trust him, but there'd be like 45% of me that couldn't trust him because I haven't seen him trust one person yet.
I agree. I mean, he clearly has a special relationship with Billy, but even that is, you know what it is? I think they all seem like business relationships, whereas Billy's relationship seems like family. Like, when she will murder you for Muna. She will stab you in the eye if you offend Muna. Josh will do anything required to keep the business relationship intact, but if it is gone, he has no attachment to you whatsoever. And I love it. It's cold-blooded.
You're expendable.
You are.
I know, man. I know. Man.
It's cool. We'll get to how cold Josh is later because Josh says some stuff this episode. He's got some quotes.
Josh is a cold mofo. Let me tell you about Josh. That's a cold mofo. All right. Next, we see Spencer. And Spencer pitches Jacob and Marcelo. Yo, could we just call Spencer like the Phoenix? Like, he has risen from the ashes.
Most improved player, for sure.
My guy.
But, he really has switched.
But what Denzel would say, like, he really has. Like, yo, Spencer's made a comeback. It's been really cool to see.
Yeah, he later in the episode says that Billy gave him the advice to chill out, and like, there's two elements of effective. There's a lot of elements of playing these games effectively, but like, there's two types of players typically. One is the player who can really, really build and devise a brilliant strategy. That's part of it, but execution is another part of it. And there's people who think of great strategies and just can't execute. Their emotions get in the way, their personal relationships get in the way, their logic misleads them. I mean, there's so many reasons, or you can't win a competition, right? Spencer's demonstrated the ability to, when he has a strategy, execute it. And that's extremely important in these sorts of games. And it's such an unappreciated talent because often we admire the strategists. We say, oh, they thought it up. And the execution, sometimes it's very easy, or sometimes it's very sloppy and it works anyway. But the ability to be on the bottom and think of, this is who I am, and then be consistent with that. I mean, he hasn't relapsed into like, come at me, I'm the best physical competition in the house. Like, he hasn't done that. He's been consistent, and that's super impressive.
Yeah, it's really, and I think we were saying this maybe a couple episodes ago, like, and I was like, I want to see somebody like draw Spencer in, like weaponize him in a sense. Like, Spencer is just itching to be like, yo, I want to work with people. Like, I don't want to keep being on the bottom. Like, clearly what I did in the beginning, it wasn't working. I realize that now, like, work with me, please, you know? So to see him, you know, you're right. It's a fully formed transformation. And I liked his pitch to the jury. I think they got to see, you know, okay, a little bit different side of him. We're going to see him later on as he's, you know, as they're strategizing in terms of votes. We see how he talks to Muna. We see how he talks to Billy and everybody else. And Spencer's making a case. Spencer is making a case. So
he is. He's also, I know he's watching. And then shout out to Spencer real quick, because I know you watching. That's our boy right there.
What else, Spencer? So last we see is Jacob. Woo, Jacob's been in hot water for the last few episodes. Jacob And he pushes Muna. That's his pitch. And then Natalie, which I thought was a little surprising, kind of. A little bit, yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. He kind of, I thought he explained it okay to the jury. He certainly talked about, his plans. I don't know. His pitch didn't
Yeah.
really stick out to me all that much, other than the fact that he pitched Natalie.
Same. And I'd mentioned this earlier incorrectly with relation to Josh, but yeah, I think Jacob had a bit of resignation this week. He seems to understand he's on the bottom, and he seems to understand there's not that much he can do about it. So he was just like, "Hey, put these people up. It's cool if you don't, whatever." I mean,
I think the thing with Jacob, I mean, I would love to hear some explanation from him, because I feel like he made a miscalculation in going for Muna. Like, Muna was firmly in his pocket. Like, I know he feels like, I don't know if I can beat Muna at the end, and she certainly is a strong player, but she was your strong player. Like, Muna was not coming at you. And Muna tells him that, I think at least a couple times in this episode. And so I don't know. I think the way he tried to go about it was certainly sly. And we see at the end, he certainly tries to reconcile, but looking at all of the blowback, I just think it was a huge misstep to push for Muna at that point, because it really fractured an alliance that I think he could have used for the next couple of weeks or couple of episodes.
yeah,
So
that's fair. I think that's a good assessment.
Yeah. So the next part of this twist is that we get the jury's thoughts. So the jury, they give their thoughts on everybody's pitches, and then they essentially vote for the person they want to be safe. And then they institute that person's pitch in terms of, the two people that they put up become the official nomination. So first we hear from Brett. I miss you, Brett. Brett, come back.
Wolga goat. Wolgoat Mott.
And Brent, like I was impressed with Natalie's pitch, because she had a good pitch, it was good enough.
I just don't give her credit for anything. She could win this whole season, but she didn't even play. She was a floater.
Yeah.
What's her name? Rachel. I don't care about her. Anyway, no, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So Brent's impressed with Natalie, and he votes to save Billy. Pretty much everybody votes to save Billy except for Jay West. Jay West votes to save Muna. Rachel votes to save Billy. Katie votes to save Billy. Brendan and Shireen, they both vote to save Billy.
This jury segment was a little bit bittersweet, because on the one hand I was like, oh, it's fun to see them again, and on the other hand I was like, man, I really wish some of these people were back in the house. Like Shireen, just seeing Shireen on her phone looking through the notes, I was like, damn, what a mind we've lost already. Like, God, she's not supposed to be in the jury right now. She's supposed to still be in the game. And then seeing Jay West like stare into space and then like just say words. I don't even think he knows that he voted. He was just like, Muna. And they're like, I guess he said Muna. Let's count Muna. It was very odd. I don't know what was going on, if that was weird editing. I don't know what that was. Oh man, Jay West. God bless him. All right. So that was the vote. Jury was a nice really little moment. So Jacob and Marcelo go up. We had obviously most people voted for Billy. Her plans to put up Jacob and Marcelo. They went up. And that's when the house guests had to vote on one of those people, who is the person who's going to stay on the block and have to fight for their life. That's when a lot of interesting conversations happen. And I think it makes more sense to go person by person and kind of discuss their game and their strategy. Who stood out to you first? Who do you want to talk about?
I mean, dang, Jacob and Marcelo, mostly Marcelo. I mean, I don't know what Marcelo's plan. What was his plan for this whole game? Like, I know he's okay, social connections, but like, he came in this game with a best friend. He came into this game with something no one else in this game had, which was a best friend in Jacob, right? They played before. They clearly have a relationship out of the house. We see people like Billy being like, yo, I didn't realize they had that tight of a relationship out of the house. And I feel like he could have gone about this part in a way that where, he's fighting for himself to stay in the house, but he wouldn't alienate Jacob to the point where they were fighting. And that's what happened. They were fighting the whole time. And
yeah, they actually lost a lot of valuable time they could have been pitching to other people, because they're
fighting with each other.
Like they spent several minutes locked in a room together just arguing with each other. I love Jacob, man. He has like, it's cliche, but like a bit of an old soul. Like, you know what I mean? he's so mature in situations. He's a young dude, right? Like, but he's so mature and he's so able to restrain himself. Has great restraint, and like seeing him enter this conversation period where he was like telling Marcel like, hey, like we don't need to raise our voices. Let's keep it cool. And then by the end, he's like shouting, like yelling. I love it. I love it because it's like, look, y'all aren't the only people with emotions. Like I have emotions too. I just keep them in check. So if we're not keeping them in check, then we're not keeping them in check. I don't know what else to say. He did that with Brett that one time when he was like, look, if we yelling, then we yelling. And I love that he handles it that way. It's such, it's a mature way to handle. Look, we can all act like civilized people, or we can act very uncivilized. And I promise you, I'll be more uncivilized than y'all know what to do with. I love it.
Exactly. That really is the key. Yeah. Because when he gets in the room, I think Spencer and Marcelo were speaking, and then Jacob comes in or something like that. So Jacob comes in and he's trying to speak with Marcelo, and Marcelo's turning up, and yeah, you're right. Jacob's like, can you you're right here. I need you to bring it down here. Mm-hmm. And so, he's trying to speak with him. And, when we talk about like, bully bait, or kind of like, Marcelo playing this really kind of sneaky, snakish, radish type game where he's just kind of like slimy, like, you see Jacob is like standing talking to him, and then you see Marcelo like sit down. And like, to me, just that like height difference was just like such an interesting, like a visual commentary on their relationship and like the hierarchy of their relationship, right? Like Marcelo's kind of like sitting down here, like trying to kind of like pipsqueak at Jacob, and Jacob's like, you need to calm down. Like, let's like, we're like, and I felt like what Jacob was trying to say is like, look, we're friends, like we're actual friends, or at least friends in this like this reality, gaming world. So like, we can talk about this in a way where you can fight for yourself, I can fight for myself, but there's certain things we don't do. And I feel like Jacob was trying to express that, and Marcel's just like, oh, you roped me into this, I didn't even want to do it. And Jacob's like, stop it, you knew, like, I told you what the plan is, you knew. It was really frustrating to watch, because I was very frustrated with Marcelo. And you're right, I love that Jacob was like, look, I'm trying to keep it cool, and at the end he was like, oh, he even left the room at some point. He was like, I feel myself turning into like a bitch. I'm gonna leave. And I don't know what happened outside the room, but he came back and was like, all right, I've arrived. You wanted to provoke me, I'm provoked. That's what we saw. Yeah,
that's 100% it. I'm so glad you said that's exactly what happened. And I'm here for it. It was wonderful. I thought it was beautiful. Marcelo, I do think the pressure of the house is breaking him. It just from his jury plea to his behavior here, I think he was just strung out. He was just stressed, and he was very whiny and very pitchy, and just came off as like, he wasn't doing anything especially snaky, right? He wasn't like backstabbing anybody, but I think just his demeanor and like how he was so quick to like, I'm just so innocent. Like, it's like, come on, dude, we're all playing a game. Like, nobody's really in it. Like, relax. And it just, I think the house got the best of him. But
I think
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just going to say, in terms of him saying like, oh, I'm so innocent, we see a lot of people in this house at various times own their game, whether it's Natalie owning to Brendan, I said your name, whether it's Brent owning up to people, be like, this is what I was trying to do. Like, everybody at some point has to own up to what they're doing. And Marcelo refused to own up to anything. And I think the whole house saw it.
Yeah. And you mentioned Natalie, so I think I'm going to transition onto her. She, Billy did some basic math and logic, and she's like, Natalie, you voted for Muna, right? And Natalie was like, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. But, I just had to do what I had to do to survive. And I was like, Natalie, you did this last week. You're going to do it again next week. Like, you got to plan a little better, girl. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with you, Natalie, but like, this can't be a routine. And so nobody trusts her right now. I mean, she said it. Billy said it in front of Josh and Muna when they were trying to plan. And Natalie just owned up to it right there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Billy knew, because Marcelo blabbed it. Marcelo was singing, like sing. He was singing. It's like, you never want to have a partner that's a rat like that. It's like, like Marcelo told the whole plan. He's like, yeah, and Natalie. And so Billy was like, oh, Natalie? Like, Natalie was in on this. And I don't know what Natalie's plan is. Like, I guess her plan is to like, well, I'm gonna try it, and if it doesn't work and anybody asks me about it, I'll just tell them that that's what I tried and just apologize.
That seems to be her plan. I mean, I feel like I won't spoil it. Whoever wins this week between Jacob and Marcelo, whoever goes on the block, and then whoever wins, I feel like she's gonna have to answer for whatever she did this week too, and just be like, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have done that. It's I don't know, whatever. I don't know what her. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
someone like that. Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
know you don't
mean,
like spending any time talking about that.
we're not giving her any airtime. But so there was that group of Billy, Josh, Muna, and Natalie, right? They were the ones talking. That's when Natalie got blowed up. He started, on an apology tour. Muna's interesting because I feel like Muna's got a lot of bark and she has a lot of bite. I don't know if it's as much bite as bark. Like there's an element of her game. I mean, she was out of the house before. Like, let's not expunge that from the record. She already been kicked out. She's on a second life. So, it's not as if she played a flawless game. And so, but she seems, and she had a bit of control this week, but she seems very certain and confident every week. And of course, be confident. But there's an element to me that I feel like she's going to be blindsided again because she just thinks she's in control again. It's like the way she was before she left the house. She's like, I have my girls with me. I got Rachel. I got Shireen. We're fine. We're doing it. I'm like, you're in the same position now with Billy and your current allies, but it doesn't last forever. Things can change. It's, that's how these games are. So I don't know. I feel like she's fine, but I don't feel like she's doing it enough to set herself up further in the future.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where that social, like Marcelo says, social connections, that's the name of the game. Like I think that's where that comes in for Muna, and that, I mean, Billy's her ride or die. Billy is her roll dog. That's not changing. Outside of that, I think she's probably realized after this episode that, okay, she doesn't have Natalie the way that she may have thought she had Natalie. She doesn't have Josh, at all. She doesn't have Jacob and Marcelo. Maybe she thinks she has Marcelo, but that might not matter. But I think the cool thing is that we see her forming this interesting relationship with Spencer where they've reconciled. And I think at first it was like, okay, we're calling a truce. And it went from a truce to what I think is like a reconciliation. And so I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see if that becomes a full-fledged alliance at some point. If they move from like, okay, we're not going to target each other, we're not going to drag each other into like, hey, I think we could actually work with each other, solidify that, and like try to like don't vote against each other, and let's work together to get to the end. Because she doesn't have a lot of other connections. She doesn't have a lot of other paths to the Final Four.
She really doesn't. And that was, I don't know. I still think she's in a bit of danger. We'll see. I do think if she gets to the end, I mean, the jury is squarely in her pocket for the most part, although they did vote for Billy, which is interesting. But I think Spencer, with regard to Spencer and Muna, Spencer's been on, I mean, he's doing that with everybody to an extent. So while I do think he has a special connection with Muna, I feel like that's just kind of his strategy now, is to go to everybody, apologize for whatever beef there might have been between them, and really start to build some sort of relationship moving forward. And I think he's been effective with everyone. I mean, you saw him with Natalie for a bit. You saw him with Billy. I feel like we saw him for a bit with Marcelo at the beginning. I mean, him and Jacob are kind of become a weird duo. Like he's really well positioned. I think that was good on his part. I mean, he spent this whole episode just going around hugging people. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good place to be.
It's on a hugging tour. Yeah, that is very true. So what do you think? What did you think about Billy and how she was in this part?
I mean, I kind of have the same thing with Billy and Josh, really. And I think that the last two we haven't talked about. Yeah. Billy, as we've said before, she's the CEO of the house. She earned her nickname. I don't know who gave it to her, but it was apt. She might have given it to herself. It's perfect. She's running the house. She's running the show. She's not just everybody's number one in the game. She's also everybody's like number one most admirable. She's like the Michelle Obama of the house. Everybody respects and wants to be her. It's wild. And like you said, it speaks to the person she is more so than the game player she is. She's an authentic, genuine, admirable person. So what's there not to love? And I think Josh is like the I don't know. He's like the same, but also the inverse, right? Like he is so businesslike in the way he deals with things, right? And seeing his conversation with Muna, Billy, and Natalie, he was kind of in charge. And I feel like we haven't seen him and Muna discussing in a room a lot this season. Because Muna's kind of hailed as the person running the house, but like seeing her in conversation with Josh, I was like, Josh's body language and Josh's manner of speech is he's dictating what's happening here. And Muna 100%. Doesn't seem off put by that, right? She doesn't seem like, oh, wait a minute, like why is Josh the one calling shots? Like
neither does Billy. They both were just like, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
is this the plan you're saying? Okay, that's the plan. Like they were
Yeah.
both very receptive.
I think that bodes well for him. I think that's the best position to be in, where you're calling the shots and nobody's seemingly recognizing what that means or what the implications of that. He's been my pick from week one. I think he's still got it.
It's interesting that you said that, Josh is kind of the inverse of Billy, because you're right, they do have a lot of the same traits. And but I think with Josh, it's more for show. I think for Billy, it's who she is. And I think for Josh, it's more for show. And that, like, for example, when we saw Josh talking to Jacob, right? And Jacob was making his pitch, and Josh was kind of, telling him like, I don't, I think I'm gonna vote for you. Like, I'm not gonna vote for Marcel. I'm gonna vote for you. Like, Josh was being honest, right? He was being honest to Jacob, but it's kind of dude like, oh man, like I gotta think, like kind of making it seem like he was really struggling with this thing. And, oh, I think I'm gonna have to do this, da da da. And it's like, if you can compare it to someone like Billy in that situation, Billy'd be like, yo, I'm voting you out. Like, just they would both tell the truth. But I think Billy's would be she would just be honest with her feelings behind that truth. And I think with Josh, he masks his real feelings. Like he'll do a confessional 2 seconds later and be like, oh yeah, I'm voting you out. You're a jerk. Like he doesn't even care. So it's interesting. I mean, I think, they're both playing a great game. And I think the cool thing about Josh is that, he can tell Jacob, I'm voting you out. And Jacob is still not going to come after Josh.
Yeah. And he still has the LOS.
Yeah.
he's hitting pretty, man. He's in good shape.
Yeah. He's in really good shape. So after all of that discussion, we see, they all get together and they give their vote. So the only vote they show us in the actual episode is they show us Spencer's vote. And I remember at the time being like, okay, I feel like we know where the votes went, right? Spencer votes for Marcelo to be eliminated, and that's the only vote they show us. And then they reveal the final vote, and Jacob is eliminated. So, and then your boy Jacob is like, you know what? I don't even think I don't want to reveal the votes.
Wild. Jacob, no, man, that man knows how to make good TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did that for us. He didn't do that for him. He did that for us. He's like, I know the real siblings are gonna be talking about this. I want to give them something to talk about. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
He's like,
it was so cool.
And he didn't need to see it. He's like, I don't need to see it. I know what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
Like, and the funny thing is, like, I think he says that, and then you see, like, like sniffling, like, little Marcelo's like trying to be like, yeah, I knew it'd come down to the two of us against each other. I was like, shut up, Marcelo. Like, stop it. You were in the house running your mouth, running to everyone who would listen, trying to, trash him. And now that you see that, Jacob's about to pick you, you're like, oh yeah, I mean, it's just us.
Your Marcelo impression is killing it. Look, I'm not gonna bully that man. Look, he already got bullied enough in the house. I'm not jumping. I'm not
bullying him. It's just so annoying. It's just like, dude, have a backbone, stand up.
When Jacob said he was 30, I was like, oh.
Me too. I was like, 30 where? Yeah. I mean, Marcel, if you're watching this, I will apologize for everything I said if you drop that skincare regimen, because boy looks like he's about 22. I was like, 30 where, honey? Where?
Because he has that gray patch. I was like, oh, he's one of those like early 20-year-olds who got gray hair. That's super cool. I was like, oh, damn, he's 30.
Oh, I've never done
and his beard, I feel like he's got a bit. And then I think in his hair is like, his hairline's way up there. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good job.
So we see Jacob calls Marcelo for the battle match. Marcelo goes up, and he probably somewhere in the subconscious knew that this could be the last time he gets to address the people that he's working with. So he made it a point.
Marcelo talked at his own funeral. I've never seen, that was a eulogy. Oh my God. I was like, bro, what? It was tear-filled. They played that like graduation song. It was so, wow. I was like, what's going on? You're still here. It was sad. I felt bad for him.
That's a good point. It was his eulogy. I was like, what is happening here? Like, he got emotional, especially when he got to Natalie, who I feel like there might be something going on there. He started crying. I was like, what's happening? But then, poor Marcelo. He came for Josh. He came for Josh, and yo. If there's one thing I learned from this episode, don't come for Josh. Don't even try it with don't even try it with Josh.
Yeah.
Unless you bring in fire, you can't even bring heat. You have to bring an actual flamethrower if you're gonna come for Josh. Because Marcelo tried it and Josh ate him up. Oh my God.
I spend a lot of time. I'm a huge UFC fan. I love watching fights. I watch all the street fights on the internet. I watch professional fights. I've never seen anybody get their ass beat that fast. That was brutal. That was horrible. Horrible. Literally the first words that came out of his mouth, Josh was like, counter repose, slap around the face, you're done. It was bad. Bad. I took some quotes. Where are the quotes at? I wrote some lines down. I was like, I'm gonna use these on my bullies someday. I'm gonna teach my kids this. If you ever get bullied, say this.
I just saw the last thing Josh said. Well, the first thing Marcelo's like, and Josh, like, he finished crying over Natalie, and he's like, and Josh, and then Josh is just like chilling against the wall, just chilling, like falling asleep. It's like, another round where I'm not called in, I could chill. And then Marcelo's like, Josh, you're just he says, like, you're just a wuss, essentially. He's like, you're just and everyone starts laughing. And I actually thought for a split second that Josh was just going to kind of laugh it off too. And then I remembered how Josh roasted Jay West. I was like, oh no, Josh is not going to laugh this off.
Everything you say to Josh scuffs his Pumas, and he's not going to let you scuff his Pumas. So a few lines. He said, he's basically like, they're going back and forth, and Josh is basically telling Marcelo, you don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you ain't been running shit, you've been running scared. And I was like, oh my God, that was beautiful. And then Marcelo said, after Josh had already abused him, Marcelo said, well, I'm just being honest. And Josh said, well, honestly, F you. That was a beautiful line. I was like, that was awesome. That was great.
That was awesome. And then Marcelo trying to be like, well, at one point, wasn't Marcelo saying like, oh, like I'm playing smart? And Josh is like, yeah, so smart that you're the one nominated. You're the one, like, pack your bags. Like, how you gonna tell the person that's still in the game you're playing smart when you on the way out the door?
What are you talking about? It was
how
bad,
does that song go? Where it's like, how you gonna complain about the club when you can't even get in?
You can't even get
in. Like, what are you talking about, Marcelo? Man. And then
go ahead. Finish him off.
Josh dropped the final bar when Marcelo's trying to be like, well, I'm here, like, I'm gonna blah, 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 blah. Jacob's like, man, shut the hell up, man. Or Josh is like, shut the hell up, man. Jacob, whoop that ass.
Whoo! Bars. Bars.
He said it so casually. He's like, Jacob, that ass.
Handle my light work real quick, Jacob. I don't need this. Yeah, man.
Look, I was Googling. I was like, where is this man, Josh? Like, where is he from?
Crenshaw? What? Inglewood?
Compton.
Yeah, man.
Like, yo.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna learn today. Y'all need to not try it with Josh.
That was rough, man. Yeah.
Jacob, Marcelo was probably like, can I just leave?
So to summarize, before we go into the final moment of this episode, Marcelo took an L in the jury plea. He took an L in the discussion after that. He took an L by getting nominated, and then he got an L stamped on his face by Josh's size 12 boot during the little discussion before the competition. So if this were any sort of redemption story, he would not take an L against Jacob in the competition. However, if this is a comedy and Marcelo's the main character, he gonna take that L. You want to know what happened? He took an L. He took a big L.
This is a comedy, folks. This is a comedy.
Jacob kind of walked through him. Marcelo, so I'll explain the competition. You had to untie a rope around 2 cinder blocks. You had to take the 2 cinder blocks and use them to make like a bridge, right? You step on one, take the other one, put it there, step on the next. You had to walk maybe like 10 or 15 feet over, and there'd be like a line. You stop at the line, and then you have to take some balls that you pulled out from the beginning, and you have to shoot them into like a little cylinder pipe, basically. You have 3 balls. You have to go to 1 cylinder and make that one, then go to 2 more and to win the task. Not only did Jacob prove that he's a superior not untire than Marcelo literally struggled to lift the cinder blocks. It was bad. And then he couldn't stand on. That was weird. I was like, I don't think this is like a test of balance. I don't think that was the point. But like he couldn't stand on the cinder blocks. He kept falling off. That was very strange. I don't know what that was about.
Marcelo was like a baby giraffe. Like his legs were always shaking, like fall. I was like, what is happening here? Like, and then and
Yeah.
then he would like try to adjust. He'd fall. He'd have to go back to the start, start over. And then he put the blocks maybe like two inches away from each other,
Yeah.
like taking little baby bird steps. Oh man,
He
Marcelo.
before the competition, he's like, I've been doing 1,300 jumping jacks every morning. And I was like, that's not true. That first of all,
That's not
if
true.
you were actually doing that, that's like the worst exercise. I mean, you're not getting any benefit. What do you think jumping jacks are? Like, if you're gonna be buff
Yeah,
now because you did a million jumping jacks? And I was also
that's
like, nobody has time for that. You can't. Nobody would count that high. And also, like, then he ended up said like, no, I meant jump roping. And I was like, bruh, like, like the crazy part is that none of this is true. So like, it doesn't
none
matter
of
what
it
you're
is
saying.
true.
But if it was true, it wouldn't help you, and it didn't happen. It was very confusing. And then he went and clearly the fact that he didn't know the difference to either of them showed that he'd done neither, and it showed in the competition. This dude couldn't stand on a block. These blocks weren't like, it was not a gymnastics competition. It was not like a high beam or anything. This block had plenty of space to stand on, and he probably wears like size 5. And so like, I don't know. I was confused. He lost. It was very bad.
He lost, and so yeah, that's how it ended. He couldn't stand on a block. Yeah, so I mean, at the end, it was kind of cool to see Jacob and Marcelo. They reconciled a little bit, and Jake and Marcelo was like, "I tried, y'all. What was he saying? Like, I don't have muscles or something like that." And he's like, "Jacob, you go in. You have muscles, so you go in. You got to win." Um, and yeah, it was a fantastic episode. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, unless you're a Marcelo fan, in which case it was like a low light reel. That was rough.
If you're a Marcelo fan, drop a comment below. I'd like to meet you. I'd like to know that you exist. I'm a Marcelo. I mean, Marcelo's fun. It's fun to watch. I
Yeah.
definitely, I don't hate Marcelo. He's awesome, but it was comedy. This whole episode
It
was
really
comedy.
was. Unfortunately, at his expense, but that it happens. Sometimes you're the joke teller, sometimes you're the butt of the joke. And shout
That
out to
is true.
Marcelo. I mean, you did your thing. You lasted several weeks. You hadn't been targeted until now, to your credit, So,
Yeah.
all right.
But kind of like Brendan, again, it's like, the one time he was a target, he went home. So
Yeah.
you got to be able to be a target, withstand being a target, and come back.
Yep.
And, so far, Jacob can do that. Muna can do that. Spencer can do that. And we'll see about it. And
And
Josh can
Josh.
do that.
Yeah.
We'll see about everybody else. So,
Yep. Well, that's it,
that's it,
y'all.
you guys. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Mm-hmm. That's been real talk.
With real siblings.
Like
Deuces.